Yo, what up? Welcome to another episode of the Oakland Warriors podcast. I'm Patrick, flying solo. So the Warriors, they lost. They are 11-11. They lost to the Dallas Mavericks 116-113 in Dallas in probably the Warriors' most entertaining game of the season. Maybe there were others, but just in terms of who they were playing and the vibe, it felt like a playoff game, obviously. And the Warriors, they just couldn't pull it out. Usually I don't pile on the refs, but man, what is the deal with all the traveling calls? I mean, they went both ways, right? And I get a lot of times NBA players, they travel, but to have all those calls and then to call a travel on the Warriors' last real possession, I found that to be poor judgment by the refs. You know, maybe they hate basketball or maybe they just, they were like, hey, his spotlight's on me. But either way, it's fine. It's fine. This is a game that it sucks to lose, but I feel good. I feel really, really good because it's just one game out of 82. And even though the Warriors are back at 500, what you always want to see is growth and progress. And nothing epitomizes that more than Jonathan Kuminga. I've talked about him a lot over the past several episodes, and he just keeps getting better and better. Like it feels like every game I come to this podcast and I say, he had his best game of the season. He had his best game of the season. This game was his best game of the season. He closed the first half and almost closed the game. Kerr instead went with the lineup with Poole out there instead of Looney. So he went with Steph, Poole, Klay, Wiggins, and Draymond. They couldn't pull it out. But Kuminga, he has earned Steve Kerr's trust. And you could tell the game has slowed down for him. He doesn't panic when he has a ball. He's out there. He's defending hard. He is rebounding, and he's making quick decisions. He's making the extra pass. And those are things that, a young player has to learn. And it looks like he's internalized those things, right? He's not thinking as much. He's not getting the ball and then panicking or trying to figure out what to do. He's moving it, or he's doing something. Obviously not perfect, but it's the steps and the trajectory that he's on at his age. It just means that he's growing and growing and, he's getting better. He'll have bad games, yes, but he's showing what he can be and what we've wanted to see for him and what Steve Kerr's wanted to see and what Kuminga's wanted to show. He had a 14-10 double-double. And to me, that's the win of the night. You know what I mean? Like that showing. I mean, he's getting really good at these one-handed rebounds where he kind of boxes out with one hand and then just snags it out of the air with the other. And his line tonight, 26 minutes, which if you recall, just a couple of weeks ago, he was playing like 4 minutes, 6 minutes, right? He would get like a first quarter stint and then he'd, do a couple things that maybe Steve Kerr was a little wary of. And you wouldn't see Kuminga in the second half at all. So he played 26 minutes, 6 for 8 from the field, 1 for 1 from 3. And that was like a really big 3-pointer. Only hit 1 out of his 4 free throws, which sucks because they lost by 3, but you can find 3 points anywhere. Usually he's a really, really good free throw shooter at this point, but he just missed, right? It is what it is. But 10 boards, 1 assist, 2 blocks, 14 points, plus 21 on the night. The second highest plus minus behind Andrew Wiggins, who was plus 23. So this is awesome. This is fantastic. Like, it's funny to me because if you recall, at the beginning of the season, you go back to Summer League, right? When Wiseman and Moody and Kuminga were all playing, and you were seeing a lot of Kuminga handling the ball, being kind of a point forward initiator, trying to add to his skill set. And in the summer, it was mixed results, right? He was getting to the line a lot, but he was kind of rushing it and a little wild, and his handle wasn't as tight. And this season, when the season came about, there was a lot of chatter about where is Jonathan Kuminga going to fit in the rotation, because it was assumed that Wiseman would be a shoo-in as the backup center, a position that Kuminga also plays as a small ball center. And then Moody was plug and play as a small forward or two guard. So that left Kuminga on the bench for a lot of the early season games. He was ahead of Moody for like a game and a half, and then was on the bench. Didn't really get his number called until that first Pelicans game where all the vets sat. And then when the Warriors came home from that 0-5 road trip, Kuminga started playing more and more minutes. And, this is the result. You love to see it. And you got to applaud the kid for having confidence and seizing the opportunity, right? I mean, the kid is never going to lack for confidence. Jonathan Kuminga clearly has a little bit of cockiness to him, and that's great. It's great when he's on your team. But it's wild because Moody is out of the rotation, and of course, James Wiseman is in the G League. And it's insane to me on defense. You're watching him. He was bugging Luka out there. He picked him up, full court a lot of times. And just by his size, his strength, his length. I mean, Luka's still, I believe, taller than him, but Kuminga is obviously more athletic and whatnot. So he played defense well against Luka. He played well against Christian Wood, Spencer Dinwiddie, Finney Smith, everybody that he was up against, because, and you love to see that, because we know, and we saw this last season, that we always thought that Kuminga could guard 1 through 5, with the 5 being, kind of a more small ball center. So this is the progress that you want to see. And he's clearly jumped ahead of Anthony Lamb in terms of minutes, and he's earned the trust. Like the Warriors, Steve Kerr, Bob Myers, everybody, they want their talented lotto picks to not be stuck behind two-way players. You know what I mean? And Lamb, for, as solid as he's been, 16 minutes, 4 of 6 from the field, 2 of 4 from 3, 11 points plus 13. Kuminga can obviously bring you so much more. And that's a huge thing, especially when the Warriors were missing so much from their bench early on. And it was like the young guys who couldn't provide that extra oomph that you need. And with the team that, needs as much athleticism as possible beyond Andrew Wiggins, Jonathan Kuminga is just such a huge injection of that. That's it. That's my takeaway from this game. The loss is a loss. You just kind of write it off and you move on to the next one. In this 5-game chunk, which started with the Timberwolves game, games 21 through 25, I was like, let's go 4-1. Let's see if they can pull that off. And they're 1-1 right now, but now they're going home and they have 3 very winnable games against the Bulls, who have talent, but they're not playing well this season. The Rockets, who are not good, but they're young and maybe are threatening. Who knows? Not really, but that'll be an interesting game because the Warriors, they had trouble with the Rockets in Houston. That's the game where Klay one of the games where he kind of broke out of it. And just to see how far they've come, they should hopefully dominate that game. And then the next game after that is a surprisingly good Indiana Pacers team. So, these are not given. These are not all shoo-ins, but these are all games that the Warriors should win, plain and simple, because they're all at home against teams that don't have as much talent as they do. And the Warriors can trot out the best player on the court in all of those games. So if they can go 4-1 that stretch, starting from the Wolves game, then, I'm happy. I'm happy with that one. And, we'll go on from there. The NBA season is heating up and there are still so many unknowns. Like, will James Wiseman actually be on this Warriors team by the end of the season? I hope so. When I'm looking to get in on the action, I bet with DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NBA. New customers can bet just $5 pregame moneyline on any NBA team to win their game and get $150 in free bets if they do. Check this out. Right now, everyone can earn up to a 100% boost with DraftKings stepped up same game parlays. Go to the DraftKings Sportsbook app, place a same game parlay, and combine multiple bets like which team will win, total rebounds, and more. The more legs you add, the bigger the boost, the bigger your shot to win big. The app is super easy to use. Just pop it open, do what you got to do, and you're good to go. Download the app now, sign up with code TBPN, place a $5 pregame moneyline bet on any NBA team to win their game, and get $150 in free bets if they do. That's code TBPN only at DraftKings Sportsbook. Minimum age and eligibility restrictions apply. See show notes for details. Another thing, too, is that in terms of progress, the starters had carried the Warriors so much this season, and they were shooting poorly to start this one. They shot terribly, and they dug themselves into a big hole, and it was the bench and the second unit, the Draymond Green-led second unit, that brought them out of it. And I'd said, I wonder how this new second unit will travel, and it's traveled well. You know, on the road, it looks good, just like it does at home. So that's another thing you just take away with you. You know what I mean? Wiggins had probably his most mediocre game of the season so far. And Klay, he did not shoot it well. But I will say this for Klay. He did not look like he was kind of getting in his own head. He did not like feel sorry for himself. He did not, press. He let the game come to him still. And, it just didn't fall for him. And even the last shot, he had a good look. He missed. It is what it is. You move on from that. But if the bench can consistently play like this, I mean, they may not play as well every time, but if they can get to this, at least a couple of those guys get to this, and then, you won't have Klay and Wiggins tanking every game at this point. So we're in a good spot. And, hats off to the Mavericks. They hit the shots that they needed to. And, they took one at home. They clearly wanted this game. They wanted it more than the Warriors. I'm not going to say that in terms of a competitive sense that the Warriors sat back, but it's like one of those things that the Warriors smacked them in the Western Conference Finals. They were out to prove something, and the Warriors were still right there when their starters did not play well for the majority of the first and then even parts of the third quarter, So you move on. And one more thing, Jordan Poole, I just got to say, it's weird, man. Like last season, I used to point out how he always looks like he falls down every time he goes to the basket, but he also tends to slip a lot. I don't know if he jukes himself out of his sneakers or if he needs more traction or something, but sometimes he's a little ahead of himself. And you saw that tonight, slipping, falling. And I believe it was the second to last possession where the Warriors, I think it was a rebound, and Poole got the ball in the left corner. And it seemed like he was a little rushed, panicked. I'm not going to impose his mindset in terms of panic, but he looked a little out of sorts at that point. And, the whole possession was kind of rushed. And the Warriors, they had a stretch where they just couldn't hit a shot. And that's unfortunate. So it's a make or miss league, as they say. And the Warriors didn't hit enough. They only shot 25.6% from three, 11 for 43 from three overall. And, move on to the next one. So good signs, though, overall, because the two of the biggest things of the season were the bench unit and, the young guys. And at least Kuminga is looking really, really good. Dude's looking like a bit of a revelation. He looks like he's been in the league for a little bit, at least. He's getting the ball and he's making decisive moves, taking decisive actions instead of holding it and whatnot. Because in summer league, that's what he would do. He had the ball in his hands and he would try to kind of take somebody off the dribble. In this one, he's moving it and keeping the game flowing. And I think that's a big, big sign for him in his maturity, that he's doing what this team needs him to do in the flow of the offense and the defense. So 14-10, double-double. I'll take that. I'll take his progress and the second unit's progress. I mean, I would take the win too, but it's a very, very nice consolation for a tough loss. Anyway, that is another episode of the Oakland Warriors podcast. Be sure to subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. Feel free to hit me up on Twitter at Patrick Epino or at Oakland Warriors. Check out our YouTube channel where you can watch this episode, youtube.com/Oakland Warriors. Check us out at oaklandwarriors.com, and be sure to tell your fellow Warrior fan friends to tune in and listen. The Oakland Warriors podcast is produced by National Film Society and is a part of the Basketball Podcast Network. And if you're so inclined, please do leave us a 5-star rating on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. And if you want to leave us a nice review saying good stuff about the show on Apple Podcasts, that would be hugely, hugely appreciated, and it would be very, very helpful. Thanks. That's it.
Music in this episode provided by Paper Sun. Special thanks to Paul Amardo for production support. See you next time.